This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
And the myth, the legend, that is Alain Poupart and our SportsGrill Miami Dolphins Insider Report. And for those of you that don't know, Alan has been under the weather, and he struggled a little bit throughout the week. How you feeling, my man? There we go. Now we can face.
Getting there. Not quite 100%, but getting there. I'm listed as probable for the game tomorrow.
All right. So you got any fever or anything, or everything good? Huh?
Fever, chills, cough, sore throat, nausea.
What is it? What did you get?
Some kind of virus. It wasn't COVID. Trust me, I've been tested for that, and I got retested again. The PRC test. It wasn't COVID, but it's some kind of virus, and just knocked the crap out of me.
Yeah, definitely knocked the crap out of you, bro. Because it sounded like you were hurting throughout the week there. And so it's good to see that you're getting back on track, and you'll be ready to go. And you're already working, because obviously we see the stuff there on SI, so you are getting some work in. So it's good to get you back into the mix. But again, I can hear you're NC. You're not 100% yet, but the Montreal Expos hat is out in full force, so that is good right there. All right, let's get a little bit into the Tua talk first of all. Overall, with the quarterbacks, are you expecting Reed Sinnett to be activated because of what's going on with Jacoby Brissett and Tua, obviously, going into this game, questionable also with the ribs?
Yeah, that would make perfect sense. Because you have two guys who could play, but are going to play hard. So, and you have Xavier Howard's already out, Devontae Parker's already out. I'm going to guess by the fact they elevated two wide receivers that Preston Williams is going to be out. Trill Williams hasn't been active at all once this year, so I'm going to guess he's going to be inactive. So I think there's enough room to have Reed Sinnett, activated in case of emergency. It makes no sense not to do that.
Yeah, with Tua, I would imagine that they've got to be pretty comfortable with him playing, correct? I mean, I can't see him playing this game with limitations outside of some discomfort, of course, that he probably will have because he's still recovering from it. But I would imagine that Flores is not taking any kind of chances when it comes to limitations, right?
Correct. And if he was at greater risk of re-injury right now than he would be a couple weeks down the line, it still would make no sense to bring him back sooner than you have to. To me, this season needs to be about evaluating exactly what Tua is as an NFL quarterback, and whether it's the final 12 weeks of the regular season, the final 11, 10 weeks, let's do it and do it right. And it's not by rushing him. So, no, I don't see them taking the chance of bringing him back too early.
When you watch the tape of the game this past week, they're bringing back the same line. How give me in your eyes the positives and the negatives of bringing back the same line?
Well, the positive is it played okay. I didn't have a major issue with the way the offensive line played against Tampa Bay. In fact, I didn't have an issue with the way the entire offense played against Tampa Bay. That game was lost on defense. I mean, they couldn't even slow down Brady and company. I mean, let alone stop. I mean, it was basically Tampa Bay had the ball, they'd score. It's a question of how long and how many big players there would be. So offensively, look, it's not a great offensive line. Let's not kid ourselves, even as it was constituted last Sunday against Tampa Bay. But it was your fifth different starting offensive line set up in 5 games. It was okay. There's no reason to switch anything back. We're going to go put Austin Jackson back at left tackle and watch him struggle again. I didn't think Eichenberg was great at left tackle, but I didn't think he was quite as bad as Austin Jackson had played. I thought Jackson was okay. Jesse had some issues at times. I think speed rushers are going to give the Dolphins problems outside the entire season, and that's going to be a major issue. So I'm not expecting a miracle from this offensive line. If it can just be passable on a weekly basis, I'd settle for that. And it was passable against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, no, I thought so too. And when we look at having these guys back, the one guy that I am concerned about is Jesse Davis. And I wonder how much Jesse Davis thinks about what happened the last time Tua played. And obviously he made the mistake that got him injured. What do you I mean, you've been around Jesse. How do you think he's handling the pressures of all of that now coming back with Tua?
Oh, I love Jesse. I mean, he's a great guy, and he's got the perfect mindset, and he's made the most of his ability. And I wouldn't say he made a mistake. He just got beat. To me, making a mistake is you get off the line too slowly, or you make a mistake of bad technique. He just got beat by somebody who got outside of him too quickly with AJ Epinesa on that particular play. And you want me to guarantee you it's not going to happen against Jacksonville? No, I can't do that, except Jacksonville does not have a great pass rush by all accounts. So that's maybe encouraging a little bit. But, yeah, there's a little bit of a concern there but again, maybe it would behoove the Dolphins to keep the tight end to help out Jesse on the outside pass rusher, maybe keep the running back to Chip. There are ways to help Jesse with a speed pass rusher on the outside where it's not all on Jesse.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I hope that they help him out a little bit there. But then again, I mean, it's not like Eichenberg is a lock here too, so you kind of gotta watch both. You know what I'm saying? It's still a work in progress overall with these guys. The running game last week, finally they started passing to the running backs. This is something that I've been talking about for several weeks now. That I want to see Gaskins and Ahmed involved a little bit more in the passing game. I think they can create some mismatches, coming out of the backfield. But Alan, if you're coming back the second week in a game like this, man, don't you want to run the ball a little bit? Don't you want to start to try to establish the run a little bit more? I love what they did getting Gaskins all those passes, but I also want to see them run the ball a little bit more. That protects your quarterback too.
No question. But in fairness to what happened against Tampa Bay is you don't run on the Bucs. Nobody runs on the Bucs.
Right.
So to me, if there's not a concerted effort to run against Jacksonville, something's wrong. Because at some point, you have to make things easier for your quarterback, especially not only in terms of making him productive in the passing game, but also in terms of helping him in terms of not having defenses tee up on him in the pass rush when you have a guy who's dealing with a rib injury. So there's no question. I don't think the Dolphins are equipped to have a great running game at any point in 2021, but it's got to become something that at least is given some thought to at some point during a game. And again, it wasn't going to happen against Tampa Bay. I would expect or hope the Dolphins would try to do some of it against Jacksonville.
I hope so, man. I hope that they're able to do that. You look at the passing game. Who do you think Tua will try to count on against Jacksonville?
You know the answer to that one. There's only one guy there. That's got to be Jalen Waddle. I mean, that's his dude right there. And besides, we're talking no Parker, no Preston Williams, probably no Fuller. He's on IR. So the wide receiver core right now, we're looking at Jalen Waddle, Mac Hollins, Albert Wilson, Kirk Merritt, and Isaiah Ford. Those are the 5 wide receivers.
Gesicki too, right? I mean,
I'm talking about the wide receivers will be active.
Right. No, I know that. But don't you think Gesicki would be, along with Waddle, a guy that you really want to count on here? No Miles Jack also in this game?
Correct. No question. Those are the 2 guys. But again, Waddle is ideal for Tua because he's a guy he can get quick completions to. And I wouldn't hope for another 12 catches for 58-yard performance like he had. I don't remember who it was against, but earlier this year. But I could certainly see Waddle racking up the catches tomorrow with a lot of quick throws, and wouldn't be surprised if the first play from scrimmage is going to be a quick slant over the middle to Waddle, because that's something we didn't see with Brissett at quarterback. Not 100% sure why, because that's an effective play, and it's obviously not something that Brissett performs as well as Tua does. And I'll give you another guy who's now dealing with a knee injury, so I don't know how much of a factor he's going to be anyway. He's questionable, but a guy who I thought coming into the season would be a lot more of a factor than he's been, and that's Adam Shaheen, who looked good in training camp.
What's up with that dude always getting injured and he barely plays?
Well, he's
always getting nicked up now, I've noticed.
That
Go
was
ahead, I'm
his
sorry.
MO in Chicago, though. That's why the Bears kind of got tired of it and dumped him. And this is a guy who looked great in training camp, made some plays last year, and you thought maybe he could bring something to the offense. I think he's got like one catch the entire year. I mean, he's been.
He looked good with Tua also. Him and Tua were developing some nice little chemistry there too. And now you get Tua back, and he's nicked up now again, and it's a shame because you watch him and he'll make a play. He reminds me a lot of Yatil Green. He makes a play and then he tweaks something, like on every catch. Like that, Yatil Green used to do that all the time. He'd make a catch and then he'd twist an ankle. He'd make a catch and he'd tweak a hammy. He'd make a catch. Oh, it's a calf. It's like something was always happening with the guy. And that's kind of the way Shaheen reminds me a little bit of that he has been a little fragile. Since you mentioned the receivers, a kid that I like what I saw from him, and I wanted him on the active roster, not even Albert Wilson, was Kirk Merritt. Now, here's the problem I have with all of this, and it's the MO of Flo. He doesn't really like counting on young guys all the time, and he doesn't really play them that much unless you're a Jalen Waddle that you're such a high pick. We're going to get you in there. But a Kirk Merritt is a guy, I know he doesn't have a lot of experience, but man, this is a guy that has size, speed, hands. I really like what this kid brings to the table. Do you think he actually gets a shot at least tomorrow because of the depleted roster?
Let's define gets a shot. To me, I think he's going to get some playing time. I don't know. I mean, if you look at Isaiah Ford last week, they elevated him from the practice squad and he played, I think it was 3 snaps on offense. So I wouldn't expect a ton of snaps for Kirk Merritt. And I was halfway thinking he had a shot of stealing a spot on the 53-man roster when the final cuts were made. He didn't. But then here's the telling thing a little bit is he's stayed on the practice squad and nobody's picked him up since. Which kind of tells you, I mean, I know we talk about guys that look great and now all of a sudden they're not used, but nobody else around the league seems to think that they're worthy of being used. So maybe there's something there. So again, yeah, I liked what I saw from the kid in the preseason. No question. There's definitely something there. I mean, he's got good size, strong, can make contested catches. But let's see what kind of shot he gets on Sunday.
Alain Poupart joining us with our SportsGrill Miami Dolphins Insider Report. And, of course, you can catch him here a couple times a week with the SportsGrill Miami Dolphins Insider Report. And don't forget, tomorrow we're going to be at SportsGrill. Our broadcast will start at 7:30 in the morning to get you ready for that 9:30 kick. But the doors at SportsGrill in Miami Lakes will open at 9 a.m. with a delicious breakfast. So come on out and join us. I know that breakfast is going to be incredibly reliable because I tasted it on Wednesday and it is absolutely awesome. But what isn't reliable, and I love the kid, is Preston Williams, a guy that I think has all the talent to be a really good receiver in this league. But where you'll lose me right away is a person that is not dependable. And now we've got another injury on Thursday. He comes up lame with a little bit of a groin injury. It looks like he's not going to play. I'm pretty much getting to my wit's end with Preston. He can't stay healthy, dude. It's a shame.
No, and you mentioned Yatil Green, and making a catch, something happens, and making a catch, something happens. It's the same thing with Preston, and it's disappointing because, yeah, there's obvious talent there. Size, catch radius, ability to make contested catches, but again,
that sideline catch that last week was nasty, bro. That was awesome. That was awesome.
The first play of the game.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Which resulted in a completely waste of time again with replay when it took one quick look to see that it was clear both feet were in. Don't waste our time. Stop reviewing the play. Anyway, that's my little instant replay.
No, you're right.
I despise instant replay to no end. But going back, yeah, it's really, really disappointing because kid's talented. And again, you look at it, that's all there is on that wide receiver core. I mean, Jesus, Devontae Parker was like that. Will Fuller's like that. Preston Williams like that. And
Albert Wilson. Jakeem Grant, while he was here,
also this year. He just hasn't been
Jakeem
productive.
Grant also had his share of injuries too while he was here.
Yep, and the problem is the Dolphins put up a lot of numbers in terms of good quality wide receivers this year, but so many of them were guys with long histories of injuries, and that's exactly how it's playing out. And we're going to be looking at the end of this season the same way we were last year, where it's practice squad guy after practice squad guy every week.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. I mean, the only smart thing they did was that they kept 87 injured players, because that'll guarantee you that at least you'll have 4 of them active.
Yeah, exactly.
83 of them will be injured, but at least, keeping 87 of them was kind of smart, because, you'll definitely have a receiver every single time. You mentioned something that I agree with you 1,000%. The defense absolutely let this team down last week. They did not give their team any chance whatsoever. I mean, listen, the offense at times has done the same thing to the team also. But this week here, I mean, against this kind of a team, this defense has got to find a way to step up. And one thing's coming, a heavy dose of running the football. They know that the Dolphins can't stop the run. The Dolphins give up big runs all the time, every single week practically.
Yep.
So what are you expecting from this defense? And are they smart enough to know that the run is coming at them?
Yeah. I don't think that's a major issue. I just sometimes I wonder about the personnel, whether we actually think it's we think it's better than it actually is, and there are issues. Is there anybody? And the other thing too is it's also more difficult to identify in a 3-4 than in the 4-3, where it's so easy to see. Like in a 3-4, what you recognize very easily are the edge pass rushers, the guys who get the T.J. Watts of the world, guys like that, Chandler Jones. In a 4-3, it's a lot easier to identify like the stud 4-3 D tackles like Aaron Donald. In a 3-4, everything seems to be more like got to work as a unit, and then it's a little bit tougher to stand out. And even at that, can we really identify anybody in the front 7 for the Dolphins who's like a complete stud right now?
Right.
I mean, Emmanuel Ogbah's had some moments rushing the passer, but did anybody notice him last Sunday against Tampa Bay? I didn't notice him.
No.
So there's been nobody. Jerome Baker had like a really, really good year last year. I thought he really stood out, and this year it's just not there.
Well, are they using him differently, dude? Because he's not even going after the passer.
No, I don't.
They were blitzing him. It seemed like they were blitzing him more last year. I don't know what the hell it is, dude. Are they because of Van Noy? Did they change what they do with him? I don't understand what's going on with Jerome Baker.
Yeah, I don't know. And I'll give you another one. How often did we see last year? Before the snap, you would see Dolphin defenders start moving up and down, up and down, up and down. And then how often accompanying that would we see the quarterback like look confused? I remember Matthew Stafford for the first 3 quarters of the game had no clue what was going on. Justin Herbert had a bitch of a time figuring out what was going on. And Flacco couldn't figure out what was going on. And I'm sure there were other games. I haven't seen that from the Dolphins this year. They're going back and forth at the line before.
The amoeba.
I don't understand why.
The amoeba
I
is
don't understand
gone.
why.
None of us do. There are things that's what I was talking about. It's like, I was talking about this in the first hour, that the Flores football that we saw like the first 2 years, we haven't seen it. The discipline, the amoeba defense, not committing penalties, not committing mistakes. It's completely opposite of everything that we watched before. Van Ginkel's not the same player he was. This kid, Jerome Baker, is not the same player he was. Jones and X are not playing well. It's not just last week with X. He's gotten burned all throughout the first month, dude, with all kinds of different players. And it's not just crossing routes, it's deep routes, it's everything. You start to look around, there's a lot of players that we can point at and say, well, wait a minute, those guys were playing better last year and they're not playing that well this year. What the hell is going on? And that's the part that most of us can't put our finger on. What's going on? What are they doing differently that this defense, they were bending last year. They just weren't breaking.
Right.
And now they're bending, they're breaking, they're playing stupid too at times.
And and they're not getting the ton of turnovers they were getting last year.
Yeah.
Which was bailing them out on quite a few occasions. And
Yeah.
they were great. And they were great on third down last year, and they're horrible this year.
All right. So what are you doing? What are you picking? What's the prediction tomorrow in London?
I have a nasty feeling. I'll be honest with you. I just don't like the way this Dolphins team is right now. And then I look at the other team, and Jacksonville. The Dolphins are a mess right now. And then I look at Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's even more of a mess. So I expect ugliness, and I expect the Dolphins to find a way to squeak out a win that's not going to be particularly impressive. That's not necessarily going to make fans think, oh, we're back. The road to the playoffs has started. But, at this point, you need wins if you keep thinking playoffs. So I'm thinking they eke out a win. I think I just predicted 19-17 was my predicted score.
And just to follow up there, we wrap it up here with this. Some people think that Flores is already losing the locker room. I'm not one of them, but a loss tomorrow, I have to then agree with those people that think he's lost the locker room, because a loss to the Jags, that's an indictment on Flo and the coaching staff that he's not reaching his team.
No, that would be very ugly. And I know I posed a question before they played the Colts of whether that was a must-win game. And I said at the time it wasn't, because it was still way too early in the season.
I agree.
It was a game you need to win. I think this one, for all it entails, is about as close to a must-win game as you can have in a week 6.
Yes. Because if there was any hope left, this is the last week of the hope. And because you win this one, then you can win Atlanta, and then things start to look better. And I know you get Buffalo, so that becomes a tough nut to crack. But if you can at least play better against Buffalo than you did the last time, then you start seeing the progress, and then there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But if you lose this week, then it just doesn't look like you're ever going to get out of anywhere or make progress. And I think you really start to lose a lot of people in your building and the people that sit in the stands. So to me, I'm with you. I think this is a must-win week for everybody, for Flo, for Greer, for the team, for Tua, for everybody. I think they need it big time.
Yep, no question. And I think they lose tomorrow, and it's like a lot of the focus is going to start being like, okay, 2022, what needs to be done before that? I mean, that's
right. Yep, I'm with you.
Yep.
All right, follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. Catch his work there at Sports Illustrated. Better yet, bookmark the Dolphins Sports Illustrated page that he has, because it just updates with all the articles there, all in one place. It's really, really nice and convenient for the Dolphin to lock it in. So bookmark that thing there and catch him here a couple times a week. He'll be back tomorrow in the post-game show to talk a little Dolphins, and hopefully we'll be talking about a victory over the Jags. As always, Alan, appreciate you, my brother. Get some rest, drink plenty of liquids, lots and lots of water,
so I'm drinking.
Feel better, my brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you, partner.
You got it. There you go. Alain Poupart and our Sports Grill Miami Dolphins Insider Report.